If you clicked this video, did you choose it? Or did an algorithm choose it for you? Today, on The Uncommon Sense, we're diving deep into why freedom of choice is an illusion. We'll reveal how most of our choices are actually pre-made by invisible systems we barely notice. Stick around because by the end, you'll see the world a little differently. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got more mind benders coming. Let's jump in. We live in a world that celebrates choice. We're told it's the cornerstone of our freedom, the engine of progress. Every day, we make countless decisions, big and small, shaping our lives, our identities, our world. But what if that feeling of control, that sense of freely choosing, is largely an illusion? What if the vast majority of our choices are carefully curated, subtly guided, even predetermined by forces we barely see? Picture this. You walk into a store, see 50 brands of cereal, and think, so many options. Feels free, right? Wrong. The truth is that most of those choices were decided long before you got there. Invisible systems like corporate giants are stacking the deck. Decades of research show that the environment around us, which includes how options are framed, ordered, and delivered, nudges us toward predictable decisions. According to economists Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein, this setup is called choice architecture. You still get to choose, but the deck is often stacked. Think of it like a magician subtly guiding your eye. We're not saying you're a puppet on a string, but understanding these hidden architects is key to taking back some control. Let's dive into the real world. Let's start with consumerism, the ground zero for choice fakery. Consider the supermarket. The aisle packed with rows upon rows of products. Different brands, different flavors, different sizes. It screams choice, but it's often a facade. Studies show a handful of companies dominate the market, owning multiple brands to create the appearance of diversity. For instance, Philip H. Howard, in his 2016 article, Concentration and Power in the Food System, found that just 6 firms control over 75% of the global seed and agrochemical market. The variety? An illusion. The real power lies with a handful of conglomerates deciding what you even get to choose from. This illusion of choice extends globally, where corporate consolidation masks limited competition. For instance, Howard found that only 4 firms control over 70% of the world's trade in grain. And in the retail sector, the top 4 firms control over half of the US grocery market, with just one firm, Walmart, capturing a whopping 33% of that market. But it's not just ownership, it's also about product placement. A study by Dries, Hawk, and Perk found that simply placing products at eye level can significantly boost sales. Eye level is what merchandisers call eye level is buy level, as products at mid-shelf see sales spike up to 23%. Why? Because we're lazy reachers. A product in mid-shelf is easier to see, easier to grab, and therefore easier to buy. Our attention, and then our money, often follow the path of least resistance. Even the many options you see also matter. In a famous field experiment by Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper, shoppers faced 2 jam displays, one with 24 flavors and one with just 6. The bigger display drew more attention, but the smaller one made customers 10 times more likely to actually buy. But wait, more choices should mean more freedom, right? Nope. The researchers call this the paradox of choice overload. Too much variety leads to overload, where more options cause stress and poor decisions. The illusion of variety, buy level, and paradox of choice isn't just retail folklore. Thaler and Sunstein call this nudging, which represents the subtle design tweaks in the choice environment that shift behavior at scale without removing options or forcing anything. As scholar Benjamin Barber argued in Consumed, how markets corrupt children, infantilize adults, and swallow citizens whole, consumerism doesn't just offer choices, it actively shapes our desires, turning citizens into consumers driven by manufactured needs. So next time you're choosing between 50 shampoos, Remember, the game was rigged before you walked in. In politics, the illusion of choice is even more dangerous. Research shows that in democracies like the US, where democracy runs on choice, wealthy elites and corporate lobbies disproportionately influence policy, regardless of public opinion. Additionally, in politics, freedom often looks like a ballot, and voting is a sacred cornerstone of most democracies. In many democratic systems, we are presented with a range of candidates and parties, seemingly offering distinct platforms and visions for the future. However, unconscious biases often dictate our picks before we even think. Scholarly work on motivated political reasoning shows how automatic processes filter information to fit our beliefs, creating an illusion of objective choice. This unconscious impact polarizes us, making true deliberation rare. In systems like the US, the two-party setup funnels voters into binary options, hiding broader alternatives and perpetuating the illusion. Even welfare and defense spending in democracies reflect constrained choices shaped by larger forces, not pure voter will. Cognitive biases amplify this, leading to overconfidence and echo chambers that limit genuine political agency. Furthermore, the media landscape plays a significant role in shaping our political choices. But long before you vote, news editors and feeds decide which issues you'll even consider. According to Maxwell McCombs and Donald Shaw, that's the agenda setting. Through the agenda setting effect, the media frames issues, selects which stories are covered, and which candidates to portray, which can heavily influence public opinion, subtly guiding our choices at the ballot box. As Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman argued in Manufacturing Consent, the media often serves as a propaganda system, reinforcing dominant ideologies and limiting the range of acceptable debate. The more the media covers an issue, the more important the public thinks it is. And it's not just salience. A massive 61 million person Facebook experiment showed that tiny tweaks in what you see, like social cues that friends voted, can measurably increase real-world voter turnout. So the choice was primed long before Election Day. Finally, algorithms are the silent shapers of our digital world. These complex sets of rules and calculations power everything from our social media feeds to the recommendations we receive on streaming services and online retailers. For example, Google finishes your thoughts. Netflix recommends your next binge. Even your dating app matches are AI curated. The algorithms make your feed feel personal. However, while seemingly designed to personalize our experiences and offer us relevant options, these algorithms operate based on data, our past behavior, our preferences, our connections. This creates feedback loops that can limit our exposure to diverse perspectives and novel ideas. As Eli Pariser discussed in The Filter Bubble, algorithms can trap us in personalized information ecosystems, reinforcing our existing beliefs and making it harder to encounter challenging or contradictory viewpoints. Moreover, algorithms are often designed with commercial interests in mind. They prioritize content that keeps us engaged, even if that content is sensationalist, divisive, or ultimately detrimental to our well-being. Targeted advertising, powered by these same algorithms, further reinforces the consumerist pressures we discussed earlier, presenting us with products and services tailored to our perceived desires, often before we even consciously recognize those desires ourselves. The work of scholars like Shoshana Zuboff in The Age of Surveillance Capitalism highlights how our digital behavior is constantly being monitored and analyzed, not just to offer us choices, but to predict and ultimately influence our future actions. Our data becomes a commodity, and our choices become the target of sophisticated manipulation. So, are we doomed? Nah, just designed. And that means we can design back. To fight back, spot the nudge by asking who benefits from this layout, headline, or recommendation. Be critical of the presentation. Finally, curate friction by introducing healthy friction into your decision-making. This could mean fewer options, creating curated lists, setting budgets, or imposing time limits on browsing. Freedom isn't the absence of architecture, it's mastering it. The feeling of freedom of choice is a powerful one. It's deeply ingrained in our cultural and political narratives. But understanding the subtle and not so subtle ways in which our choices are shaped by consumerism, politics, and increasingly, by the invisible hand of algorithms, is the first step towards reclaiming genuine autonomy. Recognizing the illusion is not about succumbing to cynicism, but about fostering critical thinking, demanding greater transparency, and actively seeking out diverse perspectives. Only then can we begin to make choices that are truly our own, rather than simply the ones presented to us. If this made you rethink your choice, share it with someone who thinks they're completely free. Your insights are vital as we collectively rethink these narratives. Until next time, keep questioning, keep thinking, and keep seeking your own uncommon sense.